Evan gritted his teeth as the shuttle shuddered violently. Sparks flew across the cockpit and alarms blared, warning of a total system failure. He had been exploring the outer rim of the galaxy, mapping uncharted star systems when a sudden meteor storm caught him by surprise. The tiny ship, though advanced, was no match for the storm's fury. The last thing he remembered before losing consciousness was the violent impact as the shuttle plummeted toward a planet shrouded in thick, swirling mist. When he opened his eyes again, his head throbbed and he found himself lying on soft, damp moss. Strange blue light filtered through the thick fog, casting the world in hues he had never seen before. The air smelled fresh, like rain on crystal, and tiny motes of light floated lazily in the atmosphere. Evan struggled to his feet. His legs trembled, but he forced himself to move. The shuttle lay in ruins behind him, mangled metal jutting out like broken teeth. He needed to find a way to communicate with the outside universe, or at least survive until rescue came. His first task was to locate water and food. The planet seemed quiet, almost unnaturally still except for the gentle hum of the forest around him. As he ventured deeper, he noticed faint glimmers ahead. Shapes emerged through the mist, towering structures that shimmered and pulsed as if alive. Buildings made of crystal, but not ordinary crystal. They seemed to breathe, radiating soft waves of light that danced across the ground. Evan's jaw dropped. He had seen countless civilizations, but nothing like this. Before he could take another step, a group of beings appeared from the mist. Tall, slender, with translucent skin that reflected the ambient light. They moved with perfect grace. Their eyes were large and bright, almost luminous, scanning him with curiosity. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Evan felt his heart rate spike. "You are human?" the being said, its voice melodic yet commanding. Evan's translator buzzed softly in response, rendering the strange words into comprehensible English. Yes, he stammered, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I mean no harm. I'm stranded here. My shuttle crashed." The beings conferred silently among themselves. Evan could feel their gazes like probing beams trying to understand him. Then the tallest one, the apparent leader, sighed and stepped closer. She moved with a fluid elegance and Evan's eyes widened. He had seen beauty in many forms across the galaxy, but this being radiated a presence that was utterly overwhelming. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, her eyes deep pools of violet light, and her hair floated slightly as if suspended in water. "You are fortunate the patrol did not engage," she said. Her voice carried authority, yet something in it betrayed faint amusement. "I am Liara. You will come with me." Evan hesitated. I can fix my shuttle. I don't need... I can survive." "You do not understand our world," Liara interrupted, her tone firm. "You cannot survive alone. Come." Reluctantly, he followed. The patrol guided him through the glowing city. Buildings pulsed softly with energy, and the pathways beneath his feet hummed in rhythm with the structures above. Strange creatures scurried along the edges, curious but cautious. Evan marveled at every detail, completely forgetting his pain and fear. At one point, unable to resist the overwhelming presence of Liara, he blurted out, You're the most gorgeous being I've ever seen." The words hung in the air. The patrol froze, and Evan immediately regretted them. He had been bold, perhaps foolish. Liara's eyes widened, and for a moment Evan thought she might smile. Then, lightning fast, her hand connected with his cheek. The slap was sharp, surprising in its force, yet not meant to harm. "Insolent human," she exclaimed, her voice both stern and disbelieving. "Do you not understand the rules of civility?" Evan rubbed his face, stunned. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to—" "You did," Liara said firmly, though a faint color glimmered across her cheeks. It was the closest thing to a blush he had ever seen on an alien. Something about it made her appear even more striking, more alive. The patrol released him, but Liara stayed close, her gaze lingering longer than necessary. Evan noticed the subtle tension in her posture, a mixture of curiosity, caution, and perhaps something else. They reached a building that radiated a soft golden light. It seemed alive, almost welcoming. Liara gestured for him to enter. Inside, the wall shifted slightly, molding to his size and shape. The floors hummed in harmony with the walls, guiding him to a room that smelled faintly of herbs and warmth. "You will remain here," Liara said. "It is not a prison, but you are under observation. The council will decide your fate." Evan looked around. The room was unlike anything he had imagined. Furniture seemed grown rather than built, curving organically, and soft light filtered through walls that acted like windows yet displayed no outside scene. He realized this world, though alien, was sophisticated beyond human comprehension. Liara handed him a small cup filled with a glowing liquid. "Eat," she instructed. "You need strength," he hesitated but drank. The taste was sweet, with hints of minerals he could not identify, yet it invigorated him almost instantly. His fatigue eased and his injuries felt less severe. He looked at her, impressed. "This is incredible," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You are fascinated by everything," she observed. "Humans are different." "I suppose we are," Evan said with a small smile. "We notice things perhaps more than we should." Liara studied him in silence. The room hummed softly, and Evan could feel the pulse of energy through the floor. He realized that this world, this city, was alive in ways he could not comprehend. Yet he felt a strange comfort. "You will learn our ways," she finally said. "But first you must understand your words, your actions, they carry weight here. Even compliments can be dangerous." Evan nodded, chastened. "I understand." Though he did, he could not help but notice the faint glimmer of a blush that had appeared on her cheeks earlier. It made him smile inwardly. As night fell over the glowing city, Evan lay on the soft floor trying to process everything. He was stranded, surrounded by beings who seemed far beyond human understanding, yet he was fascinated. And, most confusing of all, he could not stop thinking about Liara. The door slid open silently and Liara stepped inside. She looked at him with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Do you sleep well, human?" she asked. "I will," Evan said softly, "as long as I can survive to see another day." Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile, but she quickly masked it. "We will see," she said before gliding out, leaving him alone with the soft hum of the city. Evan stared at the ceiling, letting the light play across his face. He thought of the crash, the strange beauty of the planet and the alien who had slapped him yet seemed strangely captivated by him. He realized one thing clearly. He had no idea what this world held, but he wanted to learn. He wanted to understand it, and, unknowingly, he wanted to understand her. The night passed with the gentle hum of energy resonating through the walls. Evan felt both small and alive, an outsider in a world that could easily destroy him, yet one that seemed full of hidden wonders. And somewhere deep inside he knew that tomorrow, when Liara returned, nothing would be the same again. Outside, the mist swirled around the glowing spires of the city, and the stars above twinkled faintly through gaps in the fog. Evan, the human stranded on Varellis, drifted into a sleep full of dreams he had never imagined. Dreams of survival, curiosity, and the breathtaking alien before him. Evan woke to a soft golden light filling the room. The strange energy of the walls hummed gently, as if the building itself was alive and aware of him. His body felt stronger after the glowing liquid Liara had given him the night before, and his mind was buzzing with questions. What kind of world was this? How advanced were these beings? And, most importantly, why did she seem so affected by him? He didn't have to wait long to find out. The door slid open with a whisper of sound and Liara entered. She moved with her usual elegance, her translucent skin glowing faintly in the morning light. "You are awake," she said simply. "Good." Evan sat up, careful not to make sudden movements. "Yes, I slept well, surprisingly." Her eyes studied him. "You adapt quickly. Humans are strange creatures. You complain, yet you endure. You fear, yet you act. It is unusual," Evan smiled wryly. "We humans survive because we have to. We make mistakes, we take risks, but we keep going." Liara regarded him silently, then finally said, "Tomorrow you will begin your instruction. You need to understand our ways if you are to live here. You cannot survive solely by human instinct." Evan nodded, though he was secretly excited. He had always loved learning, and the thought of understanding this alien civilization thrilled him. "I will do whatever it takes." She inclined her head, though the faint blush that sometimes appeared on her cheeks earlier returned for just a moment. Then it vanished as quickly as it came. "Follow me," she said, leading him down the softly glowing corridors. The city outside had changed with the morning. The crystal structures reflected the light, shimmering like a sea of liquid diamonds. Evan could see creatures of all shapes and sizes moving gracefully among the towers, and the air was filled with a soft hum that seemed to vibrate through his bones. Everything was alive. Everything was connected. Liara stopped before a large structure that pulsed with gentle golden light. "This is the Knowledge Hall," she explained. "Here you will learn our history, our ways, and the rules you must follow. You may think this is simple instruction, but it is your key to survival." Inside, the hall was vast and open, its walls shifting slightly as if to accommodate his presence. Panels of light displayed the history of the Varelians, their rise to technological mastery, their unique culture, and their understanding of energy and emotion. Evan stared in awe. He had studied countless civilizations, but none had harnessed the connection between emotion and energy as clearly as these beings. "You see," Liara said, standing beside him, "our energy responds to emotions. Anger, joy, fear, and compassion all have effects on our technology and our society. Humans, you are unpredictable. You feel deeply, openly. That is dangerous for some, but powerful for others." Evan glanced at her. "So my emotions could actually help?" Liara's violet eyes narrowed slightly. "Perhaps, but uncontrolled, they could destroy as easily as they could create." Over the next several days, Evan's lessons continued. He learned about their cities, their energy systems, and the delicate balance they maintained. Liara often guided him personally, showing patience that surprised him. She corrected him when he made mistakes, praised him when he succeeded, and on rare occasions, seemed to hesitate before speaking, as if measuring the impact of her words. One evening, as the twin moons of Varelles rose over the crystal towers, Evan and Liara walked along a floating bridge that connected two structures. The view was breathtaking. Light flowed beneath their feet like liquid stars, and the distant forest shimmered with bioluminescent colors. "You enjoy this planet," Liara said quietly, almost as if speaking to herself. Evan grinned. "I do. It's dangerous, yes, but beautiful. And you make it even more remarkable." Her head snapped toward him, eyes wide. "Human, do you always speak so freely?" "I do," he admitted. "I've learned that holding back sometimes costs more than speaking. Words can be powerful." Liara's face betrayed a flicker of something he couldn't name. She looked away quickly, though the faint glow of pink on her cheeks betrayed her. Their growing understanding was interrupted by an urgent alarm. Red lights flashed through the city as the soft hum of the energy system shifted into a tense vibration. A storm of energy was forming in the upper atmosphere, threatening to overload the city's power cores. Liara's posture stiffened. "This is dangerous. The city could collapse. I must protect it." Evan's pulse quickened. "I can help. My knowledge of engineering. Maybe I can stabilize the systems temporarily." She regarded him sharply. "It is too dangerous. You are human, not a Varelian. You will be harmed," Evan shook his head. "I can't just watch. If I can help, I have to try." Liara hesitated. Her violet eyes searched his face, reading determination and a strange courage she had not expected. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. But follow my instructions exactly. One mistake could cost us everything." They raced toward the central energy tower, the heart of the city. The storm outside raged with unnatural intensity, lightning like bolts of pure energy dancing across the skies. The floating platforms trembled beneath them, and Evan realized how small he truly was in comparison to the power surrounding them. Liara guided him through the reactor chamber. Panels of shifting light blinked erratically, warning of critical overload. She explained the system quickly, her words precise, efficient, yet carrying a subtle urgency that made his heart pound. "You must synchronize the energy flow," she instructed. "Follow my lead." "Do not panic," Evan nodded. His hands moved swiftly over the controls, adjusting energy channels, diverting excess flows and stabilizing the main cores. Liara worked alongside him, her hands glowing faintly as her emotions interacted with the systems, amplifying his efforts. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Sweat dripped down Evan's face and his muscles ached, but he never wavered. He could feel Liara's presence beside him, steadying him, guiding him, and somehow believing in him more than anyone else ever had. Finally, with a synchronized pulse, the reactors stabilized. The storm outside dissipated almost immediately, leaving the city glowing softly under the calm twin moons. The hum of energy returned to its steady rhythm. Evan collapsed onto a nearby platform, exhausted but triumphant. Liara stood beside him, her chest rising and falling with controlled breaths, though her eyes were wide and shimmering. "You Did it, she said softly, almost in disbelief. I did not expect you to succeed, Evan smiled weakly. We did it. Together. For a long moment they stood silently, watching the city breathe under the calm sky. Then Liara's voice softened. Human, why did you risk yourself for us? Evan looked at her honestly, without hesitation. Because that's what humans do. We care even when we shouldn't. We take risks even when the outcome is uncertain, and because I couldn't just stand by while you were in danger. Liara's face changed. Her usual composure wavered, revealing something fragile, something real. She stepped closer, her hand brushing his shoulder lightly, a gesture almost unheard of among her kind. You confuse me, she admitted. Humans are unpredictable. You speak boldly, act foolishly, and yet you inspire something in me that I cannot control. Evan felt his heart race. Liara, maybe unpredictability isn't so bad. Sometimes it brings the best outcomes. She looked down, a faint blush returning to her cheeks, and for the first time she allowed a small, genuine smile. Perhaps, she whispered before stepping back, regaining her composure. Come, you need rest. You cannot control the energy of this city if you collapse from fatigue. Evan followed her, grateful yet conflicted. He had learned much in just a few days. About this world, about Liara, and about the strange bond forming between them. But one thing was certain. He was no longer just a human stranded on an alien planet. He was part of something greater, a force that blended courage, intelligence, and emotion in a way that even he did not fully understand. That night, as he lay on the soft, glowing floor of his room, he thought about Liara's words. She was powerful, proud, and utterly fascinating. And somehow he felt that she was beginning to see him in a way he had never expected. Outside, the city pulsed with life, the twin moons reflecting off the crystal towers. Evan drifted into a deep sleep, filled with dreams of glowing energy, the gentle hum of the city, and the radiant alien who had slapped him yet captivated his thoughts completely. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps a step closer to understanding Liara, and maybe even himself. The morning after the storm, Evan awoke to an uneasy silence. The city's hum was slower than usual, almost hesitant. Something was wrong. He dressed quickly and followed the glowing corridors toward the central plaza, where Liara was already waiting, her posture stiff, her eyes dark with worry. Human, she said without greeting. We have a problem. Evan frowned. What is it? Liara's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that he had never heard before. The council is not pleased with your actions during the storm. Your involvement, your bravery, has drawn attention. They fear you, human. They fear what your emotions may cause. Evan's stomach tightened. He had expected some scrutiny, but he had not imagined anger or fear from these beings. They want to punish me? He asked carefully. Liara hesitated. They consider you a threat. They may demand your containment. Or worse, Evan swallowed. He had faced dangerous creatures and hostile environments before, but this was different. The council was not just a group of leaders. They were guardians of a world whose laws he barely understood. What should I do? He asked. Liara's expression softened, a flicker of the subtle blush that had appeared before coloring her cheeks. You will stay with me. I cannot allow them to take you without cause. But you must be cautious. The council obeys order above all else. They do not forgive recklessness. As they approached the council hall, Evan saw its structure for the first time. It was immense, carved from pure crystal, glowing with soft energy pulses that reflected the inner thoughts of those inside. Guards lined the entrance, their forms tense, their eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. Liara led him inside. The council chamber was circular, with the leaders seated in raised positions. Their forms were elegant, each radiating authority. The central seat belonged to High Chancellor Virelon, whose deep violet eyes seemed to pierce Evan's very soul. You are the human who interfered with our city's energy systems, Virelon said, his voice resonant and commanding. Explain yourself. Evan swallowed, then stepped forward, forcing his voice steady. I came here by accident. My shuttle crashed. I was stranded. I never intended to interfere. But when the energy storm threatened your city, I could not stand by. I helped stabilize the reactors following Liara's instructions. That is all I have done. A murmur spread through the council. Liara's eyes softened as she watched him speak, and Evan noticed something strange. Some members of the council were curious, almost intrigued, rather than angry. Viralan leaned forward. Your actions were brave, human, but dangerous. You exposed us to risks no outsider should take. How can we trust your emotions will not cause disaster? Evan met his gaze. I cannot promise I will never make mistakes, but I can promise I will act to protect life and those around me. Humans may be unpredictable, but we do not turn away from responsibility, even if it scares us, even if it costs us. Silence filled the chamber. Liara's hand brushed lightly against his arm, almost imperceptibly, but enough for him to feel support. Viralan studied him, his expression unreadable. Interesting, he said finally. Perhaps human courage is unique. Before the council could speak further, a sudden alarm blared. Energy readings across the city spiked violently, indicating another storm or worse, a malfunction caused by the earlier incident. Panic swept through the chamber. Liara's voice was sharp. This way. She grabbed Evan's arm and led him to the energy control center. The storm was forming faster than before, more intense, with lightning-like surges threatening the floating city. Evan's heart raced. He had survived the previous storm, but this was different. It was not just about bravery now, it was about survival, and about proving that human emotion combined with action could make a difference. Together, Evan and Liara worked through the chaos. The energy flowed unpredictably, threatening to collapse entire towers. Evan adjusted conduits and stabilized channels while Liara used her abilities to amplify and direct the energy safely. Suddenly, a surge struck, hitting Evan directly. He stumbled, pain shooting through his body. Liara's eyes widened. Without thinking, she rushed to his side, catching him as he fell. Her hands glowed faintly as she pressed them over his wound. Evan gasped. The pain eased almost instantly. What are you doing? He asked weakly. Liara's voice trembled. I am helping you survive. It was an act no human had seen from a Varelian before, using their own life force in response to emotion to heal another being. The council watched silently as her glow intensified, stabilizing the energy surge and keeping Evan alive. When the storm finally subsided, the city's hum returned to normal. Evan was breathing heavily but alive. Liara knelt beside him, her violet eyes wide, reflecting a mixture of fear, relief, and something more. Something that seemed to connect her to him beyond explanation. You saved me, Evan whispered. Liara shook her head. No, we saved each other. Your courage, your determination, it guided me. Human emotion, it is strange, but powerful. The council members who had arrived at the scene after the storm passed observed quietly. Some of them looked concerned, others thoughtful, but no one spoke against them. For the first time, Evan realized that human emotion, something often feared by the Varelians, had proven invaluable. Later, as he rested in the glowing room of the knowledge hall, Liara stayed nearby. She did not speak much, but her presence was comforting. Evan noticed the small details, the way her eyes lingered on him, the subtle blush on her cheeks when their hands brushed, and the way she seemed hesitant, as if unsure how to express what she felt. Evan smiled softly. He had faced danger countless times, but this connection, this strange bond with an alien being, was something entirely new. He realized he did not just want to survive here. He wanted to understand Liara, to be near her, and to learn what her world could teach him. Over the next days, Evan continued to help stabilize energy flows and repair parts of the city that had been damaged during the storms. Liara observed him closely, sometimes guiding his actions, sometimes silently watching as he worked. Slowly, a mutual trust formed between them, a bridge between human courage and Varelian precision. One evening, as the twin moons rose and reflected off the crystalline towers, Evan asked, Liara, why did you hesitate during the storm? You could have left me behind. Her eyes met his, soft and conflicted. I could not. You mattered, more than I expected. Evan's heart skipped a beat. More than you expected? She looked away, a faint blush coloring her cheeks again. You are unpredictable, bold human emotions. They are strange, powerful, and difficult to control. And yet, she paused, struggling with the words, I could not leave you to face the storm alone. Evan reached out, his hand brushing hers lightly. Liara, I know we come from different worlds, but I feel something for you. I don't know if you feel the same, but I couldn't let another day pass without saying it. Her eyes widened and she took a small step back. Human, your words are dangerous, she whispered. But they are intriguing. Before more could be said, an urgent alarm sounded again. This time it was not an energy storm, but a report from the city outskirts. Unknown ships approaching at high speed, cloaked in shadows, their intentions unclear. Liara's expression hardened. We have little time. Stay close to me. Evan nodded. For the first time, he felt fully aligned with Liara, not just as a guest or a human observer, but as a partner in protecting this world. Whatever danger approached, he would face it alongside her. As the ships drew closer, the city's defensive lights activated, casting sharp beams across the crystal towers. Liara's hands glowed, ready to manipulate energy to protect the city, while Evan prepared to assist however he could. Together, he said firmly, meeting her gaze. She nodded, her violet eyes shimmering with emotion. Together, she agreed. The unknown ships descended, but Evan no longer felt fear alone. He had courage, knowledge, and a connection with a being more advanced than he had ever imagined. And he knew that in this moment, humanity's strength, its unpredictability, its emotions, its determination might be the key to saving not just him, but an entire world. As the first blasts of energy from the ship struck the outer defenses, Evan and Liara moved as one. Their skills, their emotions, their trust in each other formed a force that even the Council had not anticipated. And in that chaos, a human and an alien began to bridge the impossible gap between their worlds, shaping the fate of Varellis with courage, understanding, and heart. The city trembled as the unknown ships approached, their dark forms cutting through the glowing skies of Varellis. Beams of energy struck the crystal towers, sending waves of light cascading across the city. Citizens fled to safer areas, while the floating platforms quivered under the impact. Evan's heart raced, but he stood firm, scanning the controls and following Liara's precise instructions. Evan, focus, Liara shouted over the alarm hum. Redirect the energy flow to stabilize the outer towers. I'll shield the inner. City. Evan's hands moved rapidly, rerouting energy channels and adjusting conduits. His mind worked in perfect sync with Liara's guidance. He felt the rhythm of the city beneath him, the pulse of energy responding to every command. Fear was there, yes, but it was tempered by determination. Humanity had a way of acting even when the odds were impossible, and Evan embodied it fully. Liara's hands glowed as she manipulated the city's energy. She focused on protecting civilians and stabilizing the main power grid. Evan watched her carefully. Her movements were precise yet fluid, almost dance-like, and the glow of her skin intensified when her emotions surged. He realized that the energy of her people was tied to emotion more deeply than he had imagined. A massive blast struck a central tower, sending shards of crystal flying. Evan's reflexes saved several energy conduits from damage, but the force threw him off balance. Liara caught him mid-fall, holding him tightly. Her violet eyes met his, filled with something unspoken, raw and powerful. You cannot falter, human, she exclaimed, her voice both command and plea. I won't, Evan shouted, pushing himself upright. We can do this together. The ships continued their assault, but Evan and Liara moved with growing synchronicity. He adjusted the energy flow, creating protective barriers around critical areas, while she amplified his actions with her own abilities. Slowly, they began to turn the tide. The beams from the ships met resistance they had not expected, their attacks blunted and deflected by the combined human ingenuity and Varelian energy. As they worked, Evan noticed something remarkable. The citizens were watching, their fear slowly transforming into hope. Children and elders alike peered from safe distances, seeing that the city's survival did not depend solely on the council or the warriors. It depended on courage, cooperation, and the unpredictable power of human emotion. Another blast struck, hitting Evan directly. Pain shot through him, but he ignored it. Liara's hand glowed as she rushed to stabilize him, her energy flowing into him again. He felt a warmth spreading, a strength that was beyond physical healing. It was trust, care, and an unspoken bond. Evan, Liara called urgently. We must finish this now. Focus your energy into the main channel. He nodded, summoning all his strength, all his focus. He manipulated the energy, guided by her precise instructions, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. The storm of attacks from the ships met the concentrated energy barrier Evan created, amplified by Liara's power. There was a blinding flash, a harmonic resonance that pulsed across the city, and then silence. The ships were gone. Disoriented, damaged, they had retreated. Unable to overcome the combined force of human courage and Varelian precision, Evan collapsed onto the platform, exhausted, his body trembling. Liara knelt beside him, her hands glowing faintly as she stabilized his energy one last time. "You survived," she whispered, her voice soft, almost tender. "I think we survived," Evan replied, gasping for breath but smiling weakly. "Thanks to you." Liara shook her head, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "No, thanks to you. Your courage, your willingness to act. It changed everything. I never thought a human could have such an effect on our energy systems." The council arrived shortly after the battle ended, their expressions a mixture of awe and contemplation. High Chancellor Viralan stepped forward, his deep violet eyes fixed on Evan. "You have done more than we anticipated," he said. "Your presence, your actions, they are unlike anything we have witnessed. It seems humanity's unpredictability carries power that even we did not understand." Evan straightened, exhausted but proud. "I only did what I felt was right. I didn't know it would have this effect, but I would do it again." Liara watched the exchange silently, her hands lightly brushing Evan's arm. Her emotions were clear now, no longer hidden behind the usual Varelian restraint. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel fully: fear, relief, admiration, and something far deeper for this human who had risked everything alongside her. After the council deliberated, they granted Evan permission to remain on Varelles. He was no longer a mere guest or outsider. He was recognized as a protector of the city, a being whose courage had bridged the gap between species. Liara was quietly relieved. She had feared losing him, feared the council's judgment, and now, with the crisis averted, she could finally confront her own feelings. That evening, Evan and Liara walked along the glowing bridge connecting the central towers. The twin moons reflected off the crystal spires, casting shimmering patterns across the city. The air was calm, the hum of energy a soft melody after the chaos of the day. "You were incredible today," Evan said softly. "I couldn't have done it without you." Liara's eyes met his, deep pools of violet light reflecting both pride and something tender. "And yet," she said, "it was your courage that changed everything. Your willingness to act. It made me see the value of human emotion in ways I never imagined." Evan smiled, stepping closer. "Liara, I don't know what this means or if you feel the same, but I care about you, more than I thought possible." Her blush deepened, and for the first time she did not hide it. She reached out, lightly brushing his hand. "Human, you are reckless with words, yet they resonate. I do not fully understand it, but I feel the same." Evan's heart leaped. "Then, we face the future together?" Liara nodded, a genuine smile spreading across her face. Together. The next weeks were filled with rebuilding and learning. Evan assisted in stabilizing city systems, teaching new ways to blend human ingenuity with Varelian energy manipulation. Citizens watched and learned from him, inspired by the human who had risked everything and proven that courage, determination, and emotion could be as powerful as advanced technology. Liara remained by his side, both mentor and companion. She taught him about her culture, her people, and the subtle art of energy manipulation that only someone with deep focus and emotional awareness could master. Evan, in turn, shared his knowledge of human creativity and problem-solving. Together they formed a partnership that transcended species, a bridge between two worlds that had once been so different. One evening, as the twin moons rose once again, Evan and Liara stood atop the highest tower overlooking the city. Light shimmered across the crystal structures, reflecting off the tranquil water channels below. Evan took her hand gently. "Liara," he said softly, "I know we are different, from different worlds, with different lives. But I feel at home here, with you." She squeezed his hand, her eyes glimmering with emotion. "And I with you, human. Your presence, it has changed me and our city. I never expected to care so deeply for one of your kind." Evan smiled, leaning slightly closer. "Then we continue together. Whatever comes next, we face it side by side." Liara's lips curved into a small, radiant smile. "Yes, together." In that moment, beneath the light of the twin moons and the glowing city that thrummed with life, a human and an alien stood united. The world of Virelis had been saved, not by technology alone, but by courage, trust, and the unpredictable strength of the human heart. Evan looked at Liara, her radiant form glowing softly in the moonlight, and whispered, "You know, the first time I said you were gorgeous and you slapped me, I never imagined it would lead us here." She laughed softly, a melodious sound that carried warmth across the towers. "Human, you speak too freely, but perhaps I'm glad you did." He grinned. "So, do I get another slap?" Her laughter brightened, and she shook her head. "No, this time, I will show my appreciation differently." As they stood there hand in hand, the city around them pulsed with life, reflecting a harmony born from courage, collaboration, and the first true connection between human and Virelian. They had faced danger, learned from each other, and discovered that emotion, love, care, and bravery was a power that even the most advanced civilizations could not ignore. Evan realized then that this planet, this alien world, and this extraordinary being beside him had become his home. Not because it was safe or familiar, but because it was real, vibrant, and alive. And because it had shown him that humanity, in all its unpredictability, could change the universe in ways no one had ever imagined. Liara looked at him, her violet eyes soft and warm. "You are truly remarkable, human," she said quietly. Evan chuckled, squeezing her hand gently. "And you, Liara, are unforgettable." The twin moons glowed above, the city hummed peacefully, and for the first time, a human and an alien stood together, knowing that the impossible could become reality when courage, heart, and connection guided the way. And so their story continued, not just of survival, but of trust, love, and the extraordinary power of humanity.